Yeah, the guy who has to pay the bills, Mike, if at the end of the day.
Okay, Mr. Malcuba, thank you very much indeed for taking time to join me.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Tell me a little bit about C-FAX Radio 1070.
I think in terms of Canadian radio, Mike, CFAX is what they call a heritage station. It's a phrase that's used. It's what they call a full service radio station. There's not a lot of that these days in Canadian radio with the niche kind of target programming. But we are a station that provides a full service to the community, and as a heritage station, we're one of the highest rated AM radio stations in any community in Canada. And that's because we have made a commitment to information as something that we think people want today more than ever before. That doesn't take away from music formats that have their place, of course, and those stations that do that well create good audiences. But we feel our sort of job in life, is to make sure that we are the community connection. So we consider ourselves sort of the news connection, the sports connection, the information connection, and we're a very totally involved radio station. Even though we're in the word business, like we speak a lot, we say that your actions speak louder than words, and we're an action-oriented, involved station.
Now, why have you considered to be all those things, to do all those things, when so many other stations have gone the other way?
Well, I think at a time that they're going the other way, they are weakening the medium, actually. I think radio in the 90s, particularly as we get into all of that super information highway kind of talk that's going on, we're going to find that our medium is going to be tackled like never before, radio is, by all the new emerging technologies. Music will be available on command, on demand, as you require it. And at that point in time, you have to say, what really is the most important function of a radio station in a community, large or small? And we say the most important function is to be the voice of that area, and to make sure that when people wake up in the morning, they say, what's going on in the world? What happened while I was asleep? That when they come to us, they know that all's well, not to worry. In fact, I think people tune into radio stations as much to hear what not's happening as what is happening. Because if I tune in and I don't hear that there was an earthquake, I don't hear that there was a major problem, then all's well. So I think that at a time others are doing that, I'm not questioning their wisdom, but I suggest that in the future, radio strength will be in its own backyard. And the other thing, of course, is in automobiles, which we try to provide a lot of information to people who drive in their automobiles.
Tell me a little bit about the involvement of the station with the Commonwealth Games.
From the very beginning, Mike, we saw this as a great opportunity for the community. Now, the thing is that I believe that one of the positions we take as a radio station, which is somewhat unique, surely it's unique in our own market, is that of leadership. And we think that we, as a radio station, have a very big role to play as a leader within the community. We saw this as a great opportunity for Victoria. So from the very first moment, we were there. Our news director, who has become almost the voice of the games, Alan Perry, was in Montreal when we made our very first bid to the committee there. We followed the bid team, of which I was a part, as you know, and it wasn't because I was a part. It was happening coincidentally. We'd be there anyway. We broadcast live from Seoul, Korea, when no other medium, including television or newspaper, were there. We were there, and we were feeding it back to our community, and our community loved it and appreciated it. So from the beginning, we've had that news interest, that information interest. And then along the way, we've developed our own commitments to things like cultural celebrations that we've sponsored. Of course, the Pin Trading Center, which is really just a buzz of activity day and night on the Inner Harbor, which is a great way for us to serve the public, but also from a radio station point of view, what a wonderful opportunity to be seen and heard by 25, 30,000 people a day right there. So we say that if something of real importance is happening in the community and we are not a leader within it, then we're failing in our job. That's our attitude towards involvement.
On a general point, what do you think the people of Victoria are going to gain in the long term from the Games?
The most important thing, in my view, and I've said it all along, is the legacy of goodwill, the legacy of self-confidence. In fact, even I'll use the words self-respect, because once you have tackled something this large and you have worked together to do it and you've pulled together, you've put aside any differences you have, and you suddenly learn to work well with others, the community at the end has a sense of pride that just goes on for years. I saw it in Vancouver at Expo 86. From that self-confidence I mentioned, I say that because so many people tackle new jobs. They go on to work at Olympics, they become consultants, and I think Victoria will have a very large industry of people who have learned through the Games how to provide services to other great games around the world.
How does the future look for C-FAX?
The future looks extremely good for us. We are, however, like if I can use a bad analogy, we're like a nation that has a Navy but no Air Force, and you probably should have an Air Force. And that's our FM. We do not have an FM license in this community. They have not been granting FM licenses. Our federal government is very, very careful about how many licenses go into a community. There's a whole test whether or not the market requires it, the audience requires it, and there's the money to support it. So my biggest challenge and my number one objective is to get as we call it, an FM sister, and to work with C-FAX so that we can, among other things, provide multiple services, utilize the great facilities that we have in this very building to sort of amortize costs and amortize activities over 2 radio stations. That's the number one thing we need to do. Without doing that, we will still be the number one station in our community, because we'll make sure of that. We'll just work so hard that it'll happen.
Well, Mel Cooper, President of C-FAX, and a whole lot of other things as well. Can I thank you very much indeed for taking time to speak to me. I wish you all the very best for the future.
Mike, thanks, and do come back. Anytime you want to come back, you just let us know, for sure.